Hey guys, what's up? What's going on? What's going down? I was originally wasn't gonna make a video about this, but I was thinking, the more I heard about this news, and I'm sure I'm not gonna break this to everyone. I'm pretty sure everyone has already heard this is all over the internet. They made an announcement on the Star Trek convention that they're gonna do another Star Trek show that will star Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. So I don't know. Like I was just letting this marinate and just thinking about this, and there's been a lot of various reactions to this announcement. Some people are excited, some people are angry, some people are cautiously optimistic, some people are worried, some people I don't know. And for me, like this is what I dreamed of, basically. Like this is, this is what I really want. And this comes with the announcement that they're going to be doing a slew of Star Trek material for CBS All Access. There'll be, TV movies, animated series, and, there's also rumors about a Starfleet Academy thingy-majogger. And here's my feeling about all this, and I think I talked about this when this was dropped. Abkin, I did see the newest response to the comment on your video about this, because I mentioned on his video that I heard a rumor that the Starfleet Academy thing was the same project as the Jean-Luc Picard, and Jean-Luc was going to be like the dean or principal, but Apkin came up with a good response about how that's probably not the case, because what Patrick Stewart said at the announcement is that it's going to take place 20 years after Next Gen, and Picard's going to be a bit different. It implies that it's kind of going to be darker, but then I would hope that it wouldn't be too go into the same dark tone as Discovery, because that's what everyone didn't like. I don't know, but what I'm saying about all these multiple things, like if they do a Starfleet Academy thing, they do a Picard thing, they do an animated show, and I think I talked about this before, is that I think is actually very smart. And as a Star Trek fan, the prospect of having a whole bunch of Star Trek shows going at the same time again is a dream. It's what I've been dreaming of. It's what I really want. I've wanted ever since the 90s, where I grew up, and there was always a multitude of Star Trek shows on. I miss that. I miss having that. Now, granted, if they all sucked, this wouldn't be a good thing, and I'm sure that's what many of the naysayers are thinking. Well, if this all like reboot, jazzed up bullshit that's not really Star Trek, then that's not going to be a good thing. But I'm not necessarily of the mind that necessarily is going to be the case. Maybe, could be, maybe it will be the case. But I'm a lot more optimistic, and especially about this Picard show. And I've already heard like some of these naysayers like throwing out like these rumors that it's going to take place in the Kelvin timeline, and the Klingons are going to look like the Klingons do in Discovery. Romulus is going to be destroyed and stuff like that. Now, if Romulus is destroyed, then I wouldn't mind that, because it has technically Star Trek 2009. Part of it is from the Prime timeline, and so that's actually canon in the Prime timeline, whether we like it or not, that Romulus has been destroyed by a supernova that destroyed. I don't know, but fuck that movie. But if they want to take that, fine. But if they do more stuff, if they set it in the Kelvin timeline, stuff like that, that would suck. But I think there's no validity to these rumors, because there's rumors flying around like that. People just love flying rumors around, especially like when Discovery was first announced and said it was going to be in the Kelvin timeline, blah, blah, blah. And when Brian Fuller quit, they're like, oh, he quit because they want to do it in the Kelvin timeline. And then, so they kept insisting that it was going to be in the Kelvin timeline, and released it. It's in the Prime timeline. And they're still insisting, oh, it should be in the Kelvin timeline, which is something I could not disagree with more if I tried. You know me, I ranted about this before. Nothing should take place in the Kelvin timeline. They should erase the Kelvin timeline, and they should not have any more. This whole concept of having parallel universe and the whole show take place in the other universe, that's just a way for the writers to be lazy and not keep continuity. Fuck that. They shouldn't do it. Fuck it. I'll pissed off if they do anything like that. They said anything in any other timeline, fuck that show. I'm not going to watch it. So I'm not going to get in a rant. People say, well, Discovery is shitting on canon. Every Star Trek show in existence shits on canon. And then still, I could make an hour-and-a-half video detailing, maybe even like 3 hours, but I'm never going to because that's too long, detailing all the instances of Star Trek, the first 5 series and the films violated canon. It's ridiculous. So the people complain about Discovery like it's some new thing. Newsflash, it's not. They just put Discovery under a bigger microscope because of the reboot status and all that shit. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Captain Picard is what I'm here to talk about. Hold on, let me go into the chat real quick. Atkins says, it won't go quite dark. I think Picard show will be awesome. Some of the other ones may suck if they do Starfleet Academy one. I'm not even going to watch it. I'm a Star Trek fan, excited for Captain Picard's return. Yes, I'm excited. I think I'm hopeful that it will be awesome. I think there's a way it could suck, but here's what gives me the most hope, is that Patrick Stewart had trepidation when doing this project, and he talked about this when they first offered it to him. He said no, and they kind of had to talk him into it. And so it seems to me, especially the way he was talking, it sounds like he would be working with the creative team to come up. So when a star has that much star power and they really need him, it seemed like that was like, even though if he didn't intend it as a negotiation tactic, it seemed like that has given him leverage, that he has some leverage on what the show is going to be like. And if he's unhappy with the direction it's going in, he's going to walk. And he's been saying, like, during his announcement, that what he attracted him back to Star Trek is the hope, the hopefulness, the bright future of the next generation. So it seems like that is something that he is going to insist be a part of this new Picard show. So I don't think it might be slightly darker, kind of the same way Deep Space Nine was, but I think it's going to have a way more optimistic and bright tone than Discovery does, for example. And here's why I think, and this is if the producers of the new Star Trek franchise thing are smart, and there's a good argument to be made that they're not smart, because we're talking about Alex Kurtzman here, who had so many fuck ups. But people forget he did Fringe, and Fringe was a good show. Well, at least till the first 3 seasons. But anyway, so yeah, there's an argument to be made they're not smart, but looking on the bright side, being optimistic, if they are smart, what they would do with these multiple Star Trek projects is try to appeal to different audiences with each project and appeal to the different niches. Because one thing I think has been obvious with the release of Discovery is that there's a lot of different niches, different desires of Star Trek fans, especially Star Trek as a franchise been around for over 50 years, and there's so many incarnations. There's the original series fans, the TNG movies, the Deep Space Nine, and then you have the more reboot recent stuff. So there's a lot of different desires of what people want out of Star Trek. So if this thing is smart, that's exactly what they'll do. So I think this Picard project is there to appeal to the TNG fan, to the classic TNG fan who preferred Orville over Discovery because it has more brighter tone. I think if they're smart, that's what they'll do. So the Picard project will try to appeal more to the TNG fan, and like the Starfleet Academy thing will try to appeal more to the younger, like the teenage, like CW audience, and then the animated show could try to be more family friendly, and then they could do like some TV movies like the Khan thing to appeal more to the original series fans, and keep doing stuff like that. Because I'm hopeful that they'll do that, because it's not just smart from a storytelling perspective. It's smart from a business perspective. And this is one thing I know that, businesses like the head CEOs and shit like that, that's what they look at. They look at this sort of thing. if to make a smart business decision is, well, there's a lot of this should take into account. Even though Discovery has this, they say Discovery was a success. I'll take them at their word. I won't doubt it, because why would they lie? I mean, they wouldn't like green light and dump all this money into a show that's not making them money. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Those conspiracy theories, they're lying about Discovery being a success. That doesn't make sense from a business standpoint, again, which is how you look at it. And from a business standpoint, even though it's a success, they need to look at all of the backlash that it's been getting. And it exists no matter how much you just may agree or disagree with it. Like, I disagree with a lot of it, but I do agree with some of it. And I don't begrudge anyone their opinions. So if the producers are smart, they'll see this backlash and say, hey, we need to make different kinds of Star Trek shows that appeal to those who don't like Discovery, but some people do, so we'll have that, so it will satisfy that fan base that are more into the reboots, and we'll have this that will satisfy more that fan base, and we'll have this, the kiddie stuff. I think that's what we're going to do, because it makes business sense. And personally, I would like that. Maybe I would like some shows better than others, because some things would appeal to me more than others. But I would love that. I would love that they would have this shit out there for the reboot guys, and some shit for more the older TNG guys like me, and stuff for the original series guys, because I'm not really an original series guy, and that's what I didn't like about Discovery and Enterprise, because it seems like, and the reboots, they all seem to try to appeal to the original series fan base, which I'm not. I'm a Next Generation Deep Space Nine Voyager guy. I'm a child of the 90s. That's what I want to be appealed to. So it seems to me, with bringing back Picard, they're finally trying to appeal to my sentimentality, which is what I'm happy about. Let's jump back in the chat. Jesse says, let's hope the new show has good writers. Yeah, that's always a worry. Stuart says, have they said how many episodes the new show will have? No, they haven't given any details like that. It's still very early days. So far, I think it's just that one announcement that Patrick Stewart made, which I have seen. He said it was going to be set 20 years after Nemesis. So basically, around the same time that it is now. It hasn't been quite 20 years. I think it's been 16 years since Nemesis came out, but around that, whatever. So Patrick Stewart will look the age that Jean-Luc Picard is. Let's see. There's a good, and Atkins says there's a good bet it will be closer to 13 or 14 rather than 2014. Yeah, I think so. And I think that would be smart as well. And I think that's what they're moving towards, because more modern sentimentality. Let's see. Toph Graham, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, says, I feel confident if they had a bunch of guys that made the 90s era shows. I would not. Actually, and this is something I was very adamant about. When they were bringing back Star Trek for the reboots, which I ended up hating. But I think the 90s writers had their day. And especially Brennan Braga, I think he should be allowed nowhere near Star Trek. I don't think he gets Star Trek. I think he ruined the last 3 seasons of Voyager. He ruined Enterprise. He created Enterprise and was involved heavily in the first 2 seasons, the one that sucked. Don't get me wrong. Brennan Braga wrote some really great, awesome TNG and Voyager episodes, but when he became showrunner, he ruined Voyager and he ruined Enterprise. And the one thing that he said that I'll never forget, which makes me think keep him the fuck away from Star Trek, is he said that Star Trek should not be serialized. It should be episodic. And fuck, I hate that. I disagree with that. And you heard stories about when Ronald D. Moore tried to join the Voyager writing cast. He had such a huge falling out with Brennan Braga because he could not stand him. So he should, and he's joined like the Orville, and some people say, oh, the Orville's more Star Trek because it has Brennan Braga. I wouldn't go that route if I were you, because Brennan Braga does not get Star Trek. But there's other guys I know, like Ronald D. Moore I mentioned. Yeah, I think, and what's his face, Irish Steve Bear, like, even you could argue that those guys would be good if they got, and maybe they could have some of these other writers who weren't maybe that involved. But I think it is time to move beyond that creative team of the 90s. They had their heyday, and the reason why I say that is because they drove Star Trek into the ground with Enterprise, and they ruined the last 3 years of Voyager. They drove, and that's mainly Rick Berman's fault, I should be clear. So he should be allowed nowhere near. Keep him the fuck away from Star Trek. But maybe if you get some of the other writers, like, you said your Brian Fuller or some of the other people who weren't as like big named, just so they can have that Star Trek feel, then okay, I'll agree with you there. And even though I love Ronald D. Moore, I think it's time new writers get their new take. Although I wouldn't be upset if they if they announced Ronald D. Moore would be being a showrunner for one of these new shows. It wouldn't upset me, but it would if it was Brendan Braga, and that's just my bias there, I guess, based off of his works. Nothing against him personally, of course. He has his style. His style I don't think is helpful to Star Trek, my opinion. Anyway, off on the tangent here. Let's see. Yeah. Toast says, yeah, that could be Rick Berman's fault entirely. I don't think entirely. I think Brendan Braga has his share of the blame in Voyager and Enterprise, but I think, yeah, the bulk of it was definitely Rick Berman, that's for sure. Anyway, so keep him the fuck away. Although, you could argue Alex Kurtzman wouldn't be much better. But as I said, like, he did Fringe, and the first 3 seasons of Fringe were actually really good. So I don't think he's the complete and total and utter failure that many people are making him out to be. And plus, I hope that, like, they announced he's the showrunner for Discovery, which, I'm kind of okay with because Discovery is Discovery. But they said he's going to be involved in a new Picard thing, but I hope it's just as like an executive, and it has to be, because you can't be a showrunner and like more than one show at the same time. It's too much. So I would hope he's just like some executive producer who doesn't throw his weight around too much, and they give it in the hands of someone who's more capable showrunner to give a different kind of show. Dawn of Eisenfire, they need to stop this madness right now. Well, you're probably joining me too late, but I completely, utterly, and totally and 100% disagree with you. I love it. I love what they're doing. I think I want more Star Trek shows. I don't understand how you cannot want more Star Trek shows. There was a deficit of Star Trek. And as I said, there's no guarantee it's all going to suck. So I'm sorry. Completely 100% disagree with you. There's a bunch of guys that made Star Trek what it is who always did good work and never failed. I mean, as I said, some of the other writers who weren't that prominent, bring some of them back in some roles, but I think it's actually time for new blood. But what's the other one? Like the guy who I think made Star Trek what it is, and I think I would praise him as the best Star Trek writer. He really understood Star Trek, is Michael Piller, and he unfortunately is no longer with us. If he was, I would say yes, bring Michael Piller, absolutely, but unfortunately he has since passed away. Michael Piller, of course, he righted the ship of Next Generation. He's the reason why it got better in the 3rd season. He was awesome for the rest of Next Gen. He helped create Deep Space Nine, and he oversaw the first 2 seasons of Voyager. To me, were the good seasons of Voyager. I know people disagree with that, but whatever. Off track again. Anyway, what am I saying? Oh, so, and here's the thing. I talked about Discovery before, and if you see what my thoughts of Discovery, I kind of like it, but I don't hate it. Like, there's a lot of people who viciously hate it. And I want to say, that's your opinion, more power to you. You have every right to that opinion. I'm not going to bash you or whatever. I just don't share it. And I do think I'd like to be more open-minded. Now, there are a lot of things about Discovery I don't like. But, like, the look of the Klingons. I was very vocal about the look of the Klingons. That's disgusting. I hate it. I just pisses me off when people try to make excuses for that. But, I try to take it as a whole. I'm not using, like, the look of the Klingon and the lens flares and bullshit. and the fact that they have like all this new technology that was way more advanced than what they should have in that time period. I judge. Don't let all of that just say, "Oh, the show sucks" because of that. Because there are positives to the show. There's a lot of things I did like. I like the serialized nature. Once they got to the mirror universe, I actually thought the show got awesome. But when they left the mirror universe, it got average again. And there's some characters I liked, some characters I didn't like. A lot of people hate Michael Burnham. I actually really liked Michael Burnham. I really don't get the argument that she's a Mary Sue. Like, she fucked up very bad. The whole pilot episode is about how badly she fucked up. How the hell you call that a Mary Sue if the whole entire show is based off the fact that she fucked up and everyone hates her? I don't get that. But anyway, off topic again. Chat again. I think too many people compare it to the later seasons of previous Trek shows. You should be comparing it to season 1 of the previous Trek series. I think Discovery was a billion times better than season 1 of TNG, is what Atkin was saying, and I agree with that. I absolutely agree, and especially if you compare it to the first 2 seasons of Enterprise. I will say this, like all the Discovery hated, again, your opinion, you're entitled to it, but for me, Discovery is way better than Enterprise, at least the first 2 seasons. Enterprise, again, you can't, as Apkin said, you can't compare it to the later seasons because this isn't a later season of Discovery. It's the first season. And you compare the first season of Discovery to the first season of Enterprise or even the first season of TNG, it blows it out of the water. Now, I know me and Ab can disagree with it, but when you get into the first season of DS9 and Voyager, I think it gets a bit more murky. I actually would probably like DS9 and Voyager's first seasons better, especially considering how the Klingons look in Discovery. But yeah, I don't know. I think I personally think it's not that bad, but it could get better, and I'm open-minded. The season 2 commercials, like some people were saying, oh, this looks more optimistic. It looked like they're being brighter. They're moving in the right direction. Or other people were like, oh, this is bullshit, and they're going to destroy Spock's character, and blue, blue, blue. And to be honest, I'm not completely happy about the season 2 trailers I saw. I'm not thinking, oh, this show's going to suck. It's going to be trash. Either. I'm just waiting. I'm more of a wait and see. I don't like to prejudge things. And I do think, and as much as I think people are entitled to their opinions that Discovery sucks, 100%. But I do think there is a correlation. There is a very direct link that all this hatred towards Discovery and even getting into Star Wars and stuff, but I don't want to touch that bag of snakes there. But this hatred towards this new material, this is actually nothing new. This is, a lot of people are talking like, oh, the fan base is so divided in a way that they haven't been. There's a lot of toxicity, blah, blah, blah. It's not new. I disagree. This isn't something that's like a new, maybe it's more present and more in your face because of the internet. And the internet wasn't it, but even in the days before the internet, this hatred towards new material was there. And I always wanted to make a video about this where I gathered all the quotes from 1987 and 1988 when Next Generation first started. There was massive protests. People hated the Next Generation. They want to cancel. They're destroying Star Trek. This is nothing like Star Trek. This doesn't have Kirk and Scotty. What the fuck is this? What are they doing to Star Trek? And when I go back and read some of those quotes and I compare them side by side to these Discovery quotes, they're very eerily similar. And again, I'm not saying this to dismiss anyone's opinion, but it's still, to me, it seems like nothing new. It seems like this is the same sort of thing that happens every day. Especially, now you could say the backlash wasn't as great with DS9 and Voyager, but I think that's because they came out sort of back to back to back. Whereas when you have a really long break, like you did between the original series and Next Gen, you have a really long break like you did between Enterprise and Discovery, what comes back after that long break is going to be totally different, and also give the fans more time to marinate on what they're used to. And so you come back like 10 years later with something that has a very different style and feel to it. It is going to be very jarring to fans. And again, I think that is completely fair. But because I don't. Who knows how I would have reacted in 1987 because I was only 6 years old and I hated Star Trek. So who knows how I would have reacted? But I would hope that I would have been more open-minded. And at least now with the lesson that I know that Next Generation, even though it did actually totally suck in its first 2 years, don't forget that Next Generation was a horrible show in the first 2 seasons. It had some good values, but it overall was not a great show. And so if I took that and like, oh, fuck this, but I have the lesson now of knowing that it became the best Star Trek show, although I like Deep Space Nine better, but one of the best Star Trek shows, and it's sort of defined for a generation what is Star Trek. And I'm not going to be closed-minded to the fact that Discovery could do something, maybe not the same, but something similar, that it could get better. Or maybe not. Maybe it would be like Enterprise and always be, even though Enterprise did get better in this 3rd and 4th season, it was still always hold back by its premise. And maybe it'll be the same thing with Discovery. But if they're making new Star Trek shows, maybe some of them will be more hit and get the Star Trek feel more right. And maybe they'll branch out and do different. So I'm going to emphasize, I am very optimistic. I'm very hopeful. This is very good news to me. I'm very happy. I until this show comes out and it totally sucks, which again, I highly doubt that it would, because Patrick Stewart, again, is involved and he has a lot of sway and he gets Star Trek, and he would not put his name to something that's going to be like Kelvin Universe timeline disgrace. So I completely dismiss all those rumors. As I said, there's always rumors like that all the time. So, most of the time they're complete BS. Anyway, I think I talked about this enough. What is the chat saying? Oh, hold on. I want to go back in the chat. It seems like you guys are having a vigorous discussion here. Let's see. The TNG series. Not necessarily regulars. Definitely. I mean, there's no question we're going to get some cameos, especially like, we're not be the least bit surprised if we get some Jonathan Frakes cameos, because he's already just directed Discovery and stuff. So I think it's going to be more of a cameo situation where every once in a while they'll be like, hey, it's Geordi, but it's not going to, I don't think any of the other ones will be main cast members. I think they're going to try to go for something new, which is why they're not calling it a Next Generation spinoff or a Next Generation reboot or something like that. Yeah. And Alexandra, hey, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. You say that they just repurposed the Enterprise hate. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and the Enterprise hate was just a repurpose of the Next Generation hate. But anyway, Tosis Atkin, I think TNG's first season was very weak, but it was particularly unpleasant. I felt very unpleasant after each episode of Discovery until I stopped watching. Again, that's valid opinions, and I'm not here to dismiss anyone's valid opinions. Although I would remind you, Toph, of the episode Code of Honor. How unpleasant did that make you feel? But anyway, maybe that was a low blow. So, let's see. I'm cool with the new series. I just want it to be new. What exactly do you mean by that, Adon of Lice and Fire? Because it seems like you want it to be the same, especially if if you say you want it to be more like the Orville, that's just the same, honestly. And I hate this topic. When I'm getting into the discussion of the Orville versus Discovery, and so many Trek fans say Orville is the Star Trek show we want. Which again, I'm not bashing anyone's opinion. If that's your opinion, that's fine. But for me personally, if they did a Star Trek show that was just like Orville, but except took away the comedy and made it serious, but had the same sort of tone, the bright colors, the episodic, meeting new aliens, I wouldn't like that show, to be perfectly frank, because it would just be a giant rehash of the Next Generation, which is the last thing I want. And that's what I think about this Picard show. I think this Picard show is going to recapture the feel and the essence of Next Generation, but not be a rehash. It's not going to be about Picard on the ship going around from adventure to adventure. It's going to have a different feel. Picard's going to be a different character, as Patrick Stewart said. At least that's what I hope it is. That's what I would want to see. I think if they did a Star Trek show like the Orville, just rehash everything that we've done already, which is exactly what I do not, to be clear. Well, that's me. Maybe you feel different. Yeah, Atkins says he said specifically 20 years later, so not the Kelvin timeline. Although you could say I think these naysayers are saying it's 20 years later in the Kelvin timeline, which is dumb. Doesn't make sense. As I said, completely disagree with those rumors out there that are out there. Jesse says Patrick Stewart was in the Emoji Movie. So, yes, he was. Oh, I see what you're saying, how it's relevant, because Patrick Stewart, something that's shitty. I think in this case, he's a bit more going to, especially the way he was talking to Dimension, how he turned it down first. I think if he's returning to the name Picard and to name Star Trek, and again, like in the Emoji Movie, he was just a cameo. He could have done it, he couldn't have done it. The studio wouldn't care. And for him, it was kind of just a paycheck. But for this thing, it's a lot more of a paycheck. Again, it's a TV show, it's a commitment, and he is integral to the producers. They need him. So that gives him a lot more leverage, a lot more sway, and it does seem like he's going to be a lot more careful about the material involved in playing shit in the Emoji Movie. Anyway, Don says I described new as not treading on the old timeline. Oh, you mean not prequels? I agree with you there. This is one thing that we agree with. I don't think Discovery should have been a prequel. I think having the idea to set in that timeline was a mistake. Although in practice, I do think the Next Generation timeline has been explored a lot. We had 3 shows in already, and with the original series, we only had the one show, or the animated show, or the movies, but they're all involved Kirk and crew and whatnot. So I do like the idea of them expanding that universe, but this is what causes a lot of problems because. And I think Enterprise had the same issue, but people seem to be more microscoping with Discovery than they were with Enterprise. Maybe because Discovery is getting more press and is made more money and is more out there, so people have a bigger microscope on it. But Enterprise did the same thing, where it's just a prequel issue. And like Better Call Saul, I think, is the only prequel that doesn't fall into this trap and actually does a good job with it. But most shows, the prequel issue is you have to come up with the story, so you have to have something new, and to have it fit perfectly into what was established is not always the easiest thing. Now, I don't think Discovery has violated canon. They did the thing that the producers refer to as skirting canon, which is a very shady way of thinking. Like, yeah, you could say this fits in the canon if you make up all these excuses. Be like, it doesn't, there's no, like, it's not like a red flag that this definitely, like, outright, you could come up with all these excuses. Well, actually, this thing happened here and this thing happened here. You just didn't know about it before. And technically, that doesn't violate canon, but I can see why that pisses people off. And to be frank, it pisses me off too. Like, I think the whole thing about involving Sarek was a mistake. They should just made up a new Vulcan. The whole thing about having Spock, that's also a mistake. It pisses me off. And I don't see it as, it's not the prime timeline. I don't see it as any of that, but I do see why it pisses people off, and it pisses me off as well. So that's the issue with having a prequel. And if you had something set 20 years after Nemesis, like this Picard thing, which is again why I'm excited about this, you don't have those issues because there's nothing established in this future. Like all the other far future stuff we saw in Star Trek, that's all like that none of that's in stone because that's all, well, the future could be changed. And so they don't have to stick to any of that. They can do whatever they want. It gives them more freedom to not piss fans off by skirting canon. That being said, like, I don't think this makes Discovery a disaster, but I do agree it's probably better to move forward rather than do more prequels. But that being said, I wouldn't mind if they do other series that's kind of prequel-ish. Anyway. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I lost my chat now. It's not seeming... Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Math. In Next Generation Season 1, at least, the characters were interesting, and Discovery, the characters are not sympathetic. And Atkins says, Wesley Crusher. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that's subjective. Season 1 Nick TNG characters and the Season 1 Discovery characters side by side. It would be a tough one for me. I think the Next Generation ones would ease it out, but not by much, to be frank. I like Data was cool, but he got better in the later seasons. Worf was just in the first season, he just stood in the background and didn't do anything, so you can't even count him. And the writing was really shabby. The characters weren't that great. Discovery characters very hit or miss for me. I still think I'd take Season 1 TNG characters, but still, I don't think it's, yeah. Anyway, Toast said Code of Honor was just a misstep. Discovery episodes seemed to be pretty close to what they were aiming for. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think Discovery's made a lot of missteps, particularly in the first couple of episodes. You can tell that they're course correcting, and it seems like they're continuing to course correct with Season 2. And I don't know how far you watched in Discovery, but it actually didn't start to get really good until like episode 10, I believe, which is, you could say the same for a lot of Star Trek shows, and not just a lot of Star Trek shows, but a lot of shows in general. Their first 9 or so episodes aren't good, and it takes them a while to find their fitting. So I think, I don't know. I'm not going to say, oh, you must watch the show if you don't like it. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. But I do think you do have to take that into account, that a lot of shows take a while to find their footing. And just to be clear, I still have a lot of issues with Discovery. And I'm very... I don't know. Like the Season 2 trailer does not have me feeling optimistic about Season 2. So I'm going to watch Season 2 at a deficit. They're going to have to win me over because it doesn't look good to me. I'm not going to be, oh, it sucks. But because I don't know that yet. I always like to, as I said, I do not like to prejudge things. Like I was out, even with the reboots, 2009, I was very open-minded when I went to see it, and I was hoping it would be good. But I judged it on its own merits, and its own merits showed me that it sucked. And with Discovery, I did the same thing. Like a lot of people, it seemed to me, just my opinion, it seemed to me a lot of people were prejudging Discovery and declared and had absolutely decided 100% that it's going to suck before it even aired. And once it aired, they're like, see, it's exactly what I had already determined it would be. But for me, I was open-minded. Maybe it's going to suck. Maybe it's going to be good. Let's hear it out. And for me, I'm still on the fence. I think because I want to be fair to it, it does some things right. Like it had that episode Jonathan Frakes directed was an amazing episode. And it did some certain characters were interesting. Some things they did were good, but other things not so much, particularly the look of the Klingons, which is still total horseshit, no matter what anyone says. Let's see. Math says, I agree with Wesley, but the rest are much better. Data, even Picard. Even Troy was good in Season 1. Okay. We'll agree to disagree there. Alexander said, since we had the Orville, why want the new episodic Star Trek? Good point. Don says I'd like new characters, new ships, something further in the future, not directly connected to the events of the previous year. And Picard is more directed. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, Don. But maybe they will come out with something like that in the future. I don't know. I'm fine with that. Atkins says the Emoji Movie wasn't Star Trek, though. Yes, good point. Yeah, I already addressed Tove the Emoji Movie shows that Star Trek does Patrick Stewart is kind of loosey-goosey with job he takes. It's different with Star Trek. Atkins says, Don, that is what I've been asking for since before Enterprise came out. Me too. I don't think he, would be loosey-goosey when it comes to Star Trek, exactly what I'm saying. Totally different scenarios. You can't compare the two. Don says, I'd love to see Captain Worf series, Michael Dorn pitching, or perhaps Captain Riker. Why would that be better? Why is that better than the Picard? Don't get me wrong. I want a Captain Worf series too, or Captain Riker, but how is that good and Picard bad? That's where I don't agree. Maybe that's not what you're saying. I don't want to be putting words in your mouth. Maybe that's not what you're saying, but it sounds to me that's what you're saying. And they both sound awesome to me. And yeah, I would have liked, Michael Dorn had been pitching this Captain Worf series to Paramount or CBS, whoever is in charge, for years, but they keep turning him down, and I don't see why. I don't know. Maybe now that they're doing a lot more Star Trek shows, they will do that. We'll see. I doubt it, but whatever. I would like that too. Alexandra says, off topic, did you watch the last season of the 100 Mark? No, I did not. I've just been too busy. I had it on my schedule, but I've just been too busy. Honestly, I kind of fell off the 100. I'm a bit sick of it. It's not that good of a show. I don't know. So it's not something I want to spend my precious time on at the moment. If I find some free time, I'll watch it. But I'm kind of sick of that show, to be honest. But I don't know. Maybe this season is good. Maybe I need to give it a chance. I don't know. Hand of Stone, maybe some DS9 characters will make an appearance on the show, like Miles or Kira. That's another point. The opportunity is not just for TNG characters to make a cameo, but they could have some DS9 or even Voyager characters pop in. Which to me, that would be good service, good fan service, depending on how it was handled. Gabriel McKnight says, I'd like to see Star Trek go in more of the Deep Space Nine direction. And this is kind of what I'm saying with all the different niches, because a lot of people would disagree with you. And in fact, some could even argue, and I've made this argument, that Discovery is kind of in the Deep Space Nine direction. I think it is to an extent, but people don't see it that way. They see it as, they're destroying Star Trek. And people did say the same thing about Deep Space Nine. But again, I think it's just a matter of Deep Space Nine wasn't as in the forefront of the media. It wasn't as popular. So the fight back, the pushback against it wasn't as well known or as strong, but it existed. A lot of people were pushing back against Deep Space Nine. Oh, you can't have a war in the Star Trek series? What the fuck are you doing? And ironically, people are saying the same thing about Discovery, not realizing that you already have had a war, and they're not the first to do it. In fact, the Deep Space Nine wasn't even the first to do it. The original series had an episode with a war with the Klingons. But anyway, off topic again. Well, I'm going to have to end soon. My throat's hurting. Let's see. Ivkan says episodes 10 through 13 of Discovery are far superior to anything in TNG Season 1. I think I'd agree with that. I think I would agree with that. If you say Deep Space Nine, I disagree because nothing is better than Duet. You know me. But Duet was like 10 times better than anything in Discovery. But with Next Gen, yeah, I'll agree with you there. And especially if you say that with Enterprise, 100%. Toph says, one of the things I just can't seem to get past is the fact that I believe most people making Discovery don't apparently like Star Trek in the first place, and it shows, which I disagree with. There are some people you heard about, maybe they're not like the head writers, but there's some people who are like Star Trek novelists who are huge Star Trek fans that are in that writing room in Discovery, if you pay attention. And that shows. So I think you're objectively wrong in that case, Toph. I'm sorry. It says, I heard some people on my channel say they've never watched it, but they knew it sucked. And that's the kind of thing I hate. As a pet peeve of mine, I never declared something. Well, maybe not never, because sometimes, like the Transformer movies. I know they suck. I saw the first one, and after that, I was like, but that's different. That is totally different than saying, oh, well, I've never watched Discovery and I know it sucks. No, you don't. That's impossible. What else? Don say, I'm not saying that Picard is bad, not a fan of STD. And I think calling it STD is, I'm going to stop. People who call it STD, typically people don't like it or think negatively about it, because let me just make this point real quick. Does anyone call Star Trek Voyager STV? No, they don't. The abbreviation for Star Trek Voyager is not STV, it's VOY. Just like the abbreviation for Discovery would be DIS or DISCO, not STD. I think that abbreviation is obviously has come about because of the connotations and the similarities, and mainly it's people and to use it. And I'm not saying if they want to continue to use it to say the show sucks, fine. I'm just pointing out that is not the official abbreviation. So I refuse to call it that. And I do have a lot of issues with it. But anyway, so I'm not a huge fan of Discovery, mainly because of the timeline thing. What timeline thing? I don't get what you mean by the timeline thing. Because it's introducing stuff that skirts canon. I mean, as I said, I kind of get that. That is a bit annoying, but I don't really see it as a deal breaker, but that's just me. African says, oh my God, I just realized all these people in the chat and no Cardinal Doomsday. Oh my God, I didn't realize that as well. He must be busy at the moment. He's probably going to be hitting himself for missing this. Somebody go check him and make sure he's okay. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. Look, Forlock, yes, I get to catch a live check. You are the bomb, brother. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be the bomb. And Gabriel McDonough says Picard is too old to have a show about him. This is where I'm going to have to I've heard his opinion several times already, and I could not disagree with this opinion more. Too old. Fuck that shit. You're never too old. Look at Patrick Stewart. Look at fucking Patrick Stewart at the convention when he's talking. He's invigorated. He's energized. Bullshit. He's too old. Bullshit. And especially if he plays his age, which it seems like he was doing. Now, if they try to have him be like this fresh, Kirk-like figure going out and getting the bar fights and stuff, okay, that would look dumb. But if they have him play his age, and which it seems like they would, then that would be awesome. Nah, fuck that, too old. Did you see him in Logan? He was amazing in Logan. He's not too, I mean, you have a lot of older actors who are doing awesome, like Ian McKellen. No. I'm going to have to, sorry to be so rude, but I'm going to have to call bullshit on that opinion. Sorry. What else? If you pick anyone to be the showrunner for Discovery Season 2, who would you choose? Ooh, that's a very good question. Oh, God damn. That is a good one. It's hard for me to say because I would probably go with someone that I'm not familiar with. Oh, God, who would be a good showrunner for Discovery Season 2? Well, I would probably choose, I can't remember his name at the moment, but the guy, Nareem, I believe, who's the showrunner for The Expanse. But I wouldn't want him to do that because I wouldn't want him to leave The Expanse or try to take on two projects at the same time. But theoretically, if The Expanse didn't exist or it ended over something, just like Pie in the Sky Dream, I'd probably choose him. Outside of that, I mean, instincts want me to say Vince Gilligan, I don't think he's really doing anything at the moment because he's an awesome showrunner in general. He can do something awesome and amazing with anything. Actually, yeah, I will say Vince Gilligan. Fuck it. Because he's very good at character stories. And that's what I think Star Trek needs, is really good character stories. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Vince Gilligan. Anyway, wow. What else have we got going on in the chat? Let's see. Toast says is very true what you said about STD. Yes, it is. It isn't consistent with how they normally abbreviate things. Absolutely, it's something a lot of people hate the show made up. Master once said Gabriel's Stewart seems quite fit for his age. Yeah, and I talked about this everywhere. And Donna Vice First, I've never seen it called any other abbreviation. I have. It's just because it's common to do it over the internet with YouTube and people who don't like the show. Oh, you weren't trying to be naked. I'm not saying that you were, Don. I wasn't. That wasn't a jive against you personally. It was just the whole ST thing in general. Toph, just trying to be fair, even though I don't like the show either, Don. Patrick Stewart is in better shape than most fandom, no matter how old he is. Atkins says, I wonder if they will give him a beard and make him look like he did all good things. Toph said, I'd be interested in Quentin Tarantino. Alexandra says, I'm not sure about wanting to see the rest of the cast of Next Generation on the screen right now, but Stewart looks great. Noreen Shankar, great guy, former writer for TNG and Farscape. Oh, I didn't know he wrote for TNG. Ha! That makes him even more qualified to be the showrunner, to take over the showrunner of Discovery. But as I said, he's doing The Expanse and he's busy with that. I would not want to take him away from The Expanse. Amazing show. Expanse, just to make sure my opinion on this matter is clear, Discovery, The Expanse. See my hands on both the thing is like a billion times better. But just so I get that out of the way. What else have we got going on in the chat? Gabriel McKnight, damn it, if to bring back William Shatner, if you bring back Patrick Stewart, I'd rather old Captain Kirk series. Okay, that's where I'm going to say the too old thing comes into account. I mean, because Kirk is always a different beast than Picard, and Kirk was the fighter, the young. If you bring back an old Kirk, I'm like a million times less interested in that. Sorry. What else have we got? Hand of Stone. Tom Hardy can make a cameo as younger Picard in a flashback. Good pie in the sky idea, but they're not going to fork out. They can't afford Tom Hardy now, unfortunately. And plus, Tom Hardy is buffed up a lot since the Nemesis days. He doesn't look like Picard anymore, to be fair. Let's see. And I have to say, also, Patrick Stewart is actually a good actor. William Shatner, not so much. Absolutely, 100% agree. Stewart says, I agree. Naren Shekha would be good. He worked on CSI for a long time, too. Vince Gilligan sounds good as well. I don't know how he feels about science fiction, though. Vince Gilligan got started on the X-Files. So Vince Gilligan has already had experience with science fiction. Just a fact check there. It's not necessarily like a space thing like Star Trek, but still. Yeah, Alexander says Shatner can make a cameo on the Orville. I actually think that would be more fitting for Shatner, to be frank. Voice is starting to go, so I'm going to have to take off soon. I didn't expect this video to go on too long, but I was interacting with you guys in the chat. Yeah, Atkins says, what about the dude who played young Professor S? He could be young Picard. James McAvoy. And again, I don't think they could afford him. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that one. But there was a couple things in the chat I wanted to address. Let me see if I can go back and find them. Oh, Toast said Quentin Tarantino. this is another thing. Like, there's still in the works that they're planning 2 more Star Trek movies. One is going to be another reboot that's going to continue from Beyond, and it's going to have Chris Hemsworth in it. And there's some rumors that they're going to erase the Calvin timeline, and I so hope these rumors are true, but they're probably not. Oh, more's a pity. But the other Star Trek is Quentin Tarantino. He's off doing his other, like, Charles Manson film. But so he's gave it in the hands of other writers. Like, he came up with the idea, the inception, and he gave it to some other writers who are very good, skilled writers. They have a huge resume. I can't remember at the moment. They're writing the film. And then once Quentin Tarantino is done with the Charles Manson thing, he's going to go in and direct this Star Trek film. And I really hope this happens. This is probably the Star Trek project. No. This is the project in the entertainment industry that I am most looking forward to. If anything else gets scrapped, if anything else happens, I want this fucking movie. I want to see Quentin Tarantino direct a Star Trek film that he is inspired by Yesterday's Enterprise. I want to see that. I want to see that more than anything. I don't care. Like, when this is the kind of the backlash that from the Star Trek fan base that pissed me off the most. Like, more than the whole Discovery thing, more than this Picard thing, more than anything else. When I heard some Trekkies out there going, "Oh, Quentin Tarantino is going to have gangsters on with guns saying the F word and saying the N word, and he's running Star Trek. I'm going to strangle them." Quentin Tarantino is one of the best directors in existence. And he, in the saying, "Oh, he's just going to do a Pulp Fiction in space," is so idiotic. It's so stupid. Tarantino takes all these different genres and he does justice. He knows the genres. He understands the genres. He puts his own spin to it. And I would love to see his spin on Star Trek, which I know will stay true to the feel of Star Trek because that's all Tarantino is about. He respects existing properties, and if he came on board with Star Trek, it would be amazing. I so want to see this. Anyway, Afghan has any idea for the setting of the Tarantino film? No, we still don't know. It's not one of the Kelvin timeline movies. The rumors are, again, it's too early to know, but the rumors are it isn't. Because I think they kind of said that they wouldn't, because some of the actors who are in the Kelvin timeline movies were like, "Oh, I look forward to working with Tarantino," but then they kind of shut that down. Like, well, actually, we're not really going to use you. So the scuttlebutt is that it's going to be TNG cast. Or original series cast. Apparently, like, Tarantino has made his love of William Shatner clear, so maybe that's when you'll get your William Shatner back. I don't know. I think he's too old, but we'll see. We still don't know. It's still up in the air. We have no idea. Toast says amen. Absolutely. And Clive says, how much will Spock feature in Discovery Season 2? Oh, well, I don't know. You want me to speculate? I think he's just going to pop up like in the finale or towards the end of the season, like, because the whole thing is going to be like the search for Spock. And I agree with all the criticism about the storylines. Like, really, we're going to have a whole fucking season about them searching for Spock. I agree with that. That's stupid. But again, I'm going to be open-minded, and if they wow me, we'll see. But again, I'm not on the other fence where I'm like, "Oh my God, they're destroying Spock." I'm not like that either. Again, I'm more on the pessimistic side of this because I don't think they should involve Spock, but I'm not up in arms about it either. We'll see. I wonder if Samuel L. Jackson will be in it. Maybe. Let's see. Is Tarantino supposed to be also part of the writing or just directing? Now, as I explained, he came up with the story idea. So he's like the story writer. Like, he came up with what's going to happen, but he handed it over to other script writers because he's busy doing other stuff. So other people are going to write it, and he's going to direct it, but it's his idea. Like, he came up with the concept of it. Let's see. Atkins says there's mother effing stakes on mother effing starship. Oh my god, that's funny. Toph says Samuel Jackson will be fun in Star Trek. Christopher Waltz. I love the actor Tarantino works with regularly. Tarantino uses a ton of swearing when it fits the genre in Star Trek. He would do what fits as well. It's not like Hans was with Vincent Vega. Yeah, I completely agree. Tarantino would respect what's right with the genre. And even if it doesn't, even as a film is a disaster like the naysayers say it's going to be, which I highly doubt, but even if that's the case, I still really want to see it. I just want to see what Tarantino does with Star Trek. Well, I've been on here for a while, longer, but one last thing I want to talk about is the All Good Things. That's someone brought that up earlier, and that's actually a very good point, because this new Picard show, I wonder if, because All Good Things took place like 25 years after the finale of Next Generation season 7. I think we're past that point, so really this show would be taking place after the point of All Good Things. Now, I think they made it clear that the future of All Good Things that we saw was hypothetical and it's not coming to pass, so they're not going to need to stick to that canon, because they even mentioned that episode that was just one possibility. But it's interesting to see how they're going to contrast that. Like, are some people going to end up the same, or are they not? And it's going to be interesting to compare the two to see is Geordi LaForge going to be a writer, but if he's not, is he going to be married to what's her face? Leah Brahms. And if he's not, and they'd make up something totally different for him, which they could, it'd be interesting to contrast and compare. And again, this is assuming we'll even see Geordi LaForge or people like this, but I reckon they'll at least mention what they're up to. Maybe, I don't know. But for Picard, it will be interesting to contrast what he's doing. Is he going to get this disease from All Good Things, or are they just going to disregard that? They could have a line in there saying, oh, good thing we cured that disease. But I don't know. But it's still going to be interesting to contrast the two. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take off now. I've only intended to be on here for like 10 minutes. It's been like an hour or something. But it's great talking with all you guys in the chat. Great getting the interaction and, and all that sort of jazz. Thank you guys so much for watching, joining in the conversation, and all of that. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.